Tonight, a investigation in Georgia, leaving a distraught family with more questions than answers.
We want to know exactly what happened to the twins.
Police say twin brothers Qaadir and Naazir Lewis were found by hikers on a Georgia mountain earlier this month. The brothers, weeks away from their 20th birthday, each found with gunshot wounds, according to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, which says their preliminary investigation reveals to be a...
We knew right away that wasn't true.
But their relatives rejecting that characterization by police, saying the boys were close and had no history of conflict.
They're very protective of each other. I couldn't imagine them hurting each other because I never even seen them get into a fist fight before.
Relatives saying the twins had tickets for a 7 a.m. flight on March 7th from Lawrenceville, Georgia to Boston, where they were set to meet friends. But on March 8th, their bodies were found at the summit of Bell Mountain, 90 miles away from their home and in an area their relatives believe they had never visited.
How they end out in the mountains, they don't hike out there. They've never even been out there. They don't know nothing about Hiawasee, Georgia. They never even heard of Bell Mountains. So how did they end up right there?
Over the weekend, authorities saying autopsies have been completed on the pair, but a medical examiner ruling had not been released because further forensic testing was needed. The Georgia Bureau of Investigations has not disclosed if a gun was found at the scene or how the twins got to the mountain. Telling NBC News the investigation is active and ongoing. NBC reached out to family members for more information, but did not hear back.
They had a huge support system. Like, we know them, but they wouldn't do anything like this. Something happened in those mountains, and we want answers.
Priya Sridhar, NBC News.
All right, peace and blessings, ladies and gentlemen. All praises to the Most High. I'm Richard Taylor, and I'm sharing the story about Qaadir and Naazir Lewis, the two twins who were found not long ago at the top of a mountain, Bell Mountain in Hiawasee, Georgia. Now, since that time, about 8 days ago, there have been little to no coverage of the incident. It was quickly and ironically ruled a M-word, S-word, and quickly closed, even though they said that the current or the medical examiner hasn't released a final ruling. One day, soon as they find them, quickly labeling it without doing a thorough investigation is otherworldly suspicious, and sounds like what we saw in the Javion McGee case down in Henderson, North Carolina, which still hasn't been resolved. However, a couple of days later, they say a fireman, which is, in my opinion, the prime suspect, this man, Scott Curlin, was arrested and charged with sharing the photos. Now, there's a lot of speculation about even why you would call a firefighter to that scene, first and foremost. But even if he was supposed to be there, first of all, how did he know to go there? Why would he take pictures? And who was around him when he was taking the pictures? Were there other people watching him take pictures of those bodies and then, send them out to his friends? Who was he the only one there at the time? Was he the, quote, first responder on the scene? And look at him again real quick. You see everybody can kind of see, the evil, the anger, the maliciousness in his eyes, if you ask me. But he remains, in my opinion, the prime suspect. What in the world is an ex, and I think they say he's an ex-volunteer firefighter, being on the scene? Now, we're going to dive into this a little bit further, but first, let me play this other video which details Mr. Curlin finding or quote-unquote sharing those photos among other people who shouldn't be seeing these photos.
A volunteer firefighter arrested, accused of taking a picture of the crime scene, showing the bodies of twin brothers who'd been shot at the top of a mountain, and then sharing those pictures.
That's right. So the hiker found 19-year-old Qaadir and Naazir Lewis at Bell Mountain in Towns County on March 8th. This is 90 miles from their home in Lawrenceville. The GBI initially labeled the shooting. However, the family believes something more sinister happened to the twins. 11 Alive's Cody Alcorn first reported the family's concerns on Friday. He spoke with them again tonight following the arrest of this firefighter. Cody's live for us tonight in the newsroom. And Cody, the family is reacting to what's really disturbing development.
That's right, Jennifer and Ron. Obviously, they are disgusted by all of this. Now, we don't know just how many people shared this horrific picture of the twins' dead bodies, but tonight I confirmed with the Towns County schools the picture had been shared among students.
Oh my goodness.
It's scary. I'm like literally scared to actually go on social media. I'm scared to pick up my phone. I'm like, because if I see that picture, I already know that I might have a heart attack.
Imagine if they mother see that, like, that would really destroy her. She's already going through a lot.
This is how the family of Qaadir and Naazir Lewis want to remember the twins. However, now worried knowing crime scene photos showing the 19-year-old's bodies with a gunshot wound have been shared outside of law enforcement.
It's very disrespectful to this family. I feel like our privacy was invaded.
The volunteer firefighter accused of taking the picture charged and arrested. As for how the twins ended up on Bell Mountain on March 8th, their aunt and uncle can't make sense of it. The twins missed their flight to Boston on Friday morning, March 7th.
Then next thing you know, we hear the news about them found in the mountains. And we're still confused. I'm like, what? The twins? Mountains? This doesn't make sense.
We didn't believe that that was even them.
And then Bell Mountains, I'm like, no one even, we never even heard of before. And I know the twins never been there before. They never heard of it before. I'm like, that was super strange.
Yes.
Like, that doesn't make sense.
The GBI initially calling the case a possible. The family adamant that can't be the case.
Doesn't make any sense.
This absolutely just like
Out of character.
Yes.
Their bodies found 90 miles from their home in Lawrenceville.
they don't even like driving the distance.
They don't.
That's something
Because
they don't do.
Yeah, because they don't like to pay for gas.
Described as extremely protective of one another.
Every time you see them, they're like together all the time. All the time.
And there's probably nothing in your head you could imagine that got between them that would.
No. If they had a problem that severe, we would know. The family
Definitely.
would know.
The Towns County volunteer firefighter accused of taking the picture, Scott Curlin, was charged with misdemeanor obstruction. Tonight, the attorney for Towns County told me there are no cameras at Bell Mountain. He said the area is not staffed. Now, the gate to Bell Mountain opens at 8 a.m. and closes at sundown. The twins' family says the twins' car was found inside the gates in the parking lot. Their phones, wallet, and plane tickets for that Boston trip were inside the car.
All right, Cody, a lot of folks very...
And so there you see at the last part of that video, the environment of Bell Mountain, saying that there is no cameras or the area is not staffed. Now, how can you have a almost amusement park if it is not staffed? And if the gates open at 8 a.m. and close at 8 p.m., then who opens the gates if it's not staffed? You see how none of this is making sense the more questions that you ask? If it is not staffed, then who opens the gates and who locks the gates? Could it be the volunteer firefighter? Since it's not staffed, it's a volunteer. And as they mentioned, the children's car was parked inside the gates when they were found, meaning that they had to go there, not meaning they had to go there because we know that it could have been staged. But if they went there of their own free will, you know, they had to go there after 8 o'clock. And whoever locked those gates, because the gates are locked at a certain time, knew that that car was there and knew possibly that the young man would not be alive any longer. There's a lot of theories. There's a lot of things or questions to ask. Once again, how did they get there? Bell Mountain, if anyone has ever been up these mountains, you know, I've been up a mountain before. You got to drive around, curve and loop. It's very, very tedious to get to the top of a mountain. And they didn't drive. They evidently hiked or were forced. Many people think they were forced at gunpoint, lured there because their car was at the base of a mountain. Now, according to their family, they didn't like to drive long distances. And they said that they were slated for a flight from Lawrenceville, Georgia to Boston. Now, I don't know if there's an airport in Lawrenceville, Georgia. I don't know. But, you know, if you watch the clip, they made the flight route from Lawrenceville to Boston. But also, their wallets, their tickets, their phones were all locked in the car. What teenagers, you know, leave their phones anywhere? We're just going to get out of the car and lock our stuff in the car. Also, they were slated to take a plane. What planes do you know that firearms could be taken on? Not a plane that I know. They did. And also how often they glossed over it. You know, they, and especially in the first article, if you listen, they say, well, they're not saying if a gun has been found. Well, if a gun has not been found, how could it be ruled a M-word, S-word case? There has to be a weapon somewhere on the scene to make you make that judgment. And also, once again, where is it? What kind of gun was it? What is there gunshot residue on either of the children's hands? And who are these mysterious hikers? You've seen news clips before where, you know, people find bodies and they interview them. Why is there no interview of these hikers? Who are these mysterious hikers? Could the hiker, the firefighter, and the executioner be the exact same person? Mind you, it didn't say that he was on duty. He just said he was a volunteer firefighter and an ex-firefighter. And once again, why do you call a firefighter to the scene of a crime that nature? And, you know, some people feel that, you know, these young men were lured there, possibly by a female. Maybe a female that, you know, was in close connection with Mr. Curlin. Mind you, remember Trevante Jamal Schubert, who was found hanging in that area after being involved with, you know, a white girl. And many people speak about Hiawasee, Georgia, the Bell Mountain area, which has a very, very small black population. And it's also been said to people in that area, in that town, that is not very black people friendly towards black people. So they are in an area where, you know, their parents or their relatives, you see, they don't even, what, Bell Mountain, what are they doing up there? You know, they don't know nothing about that. They don't go up there. And like, where is, you know, the news coverage of that night? You know, most of the time that they have yellow tape, they have, you know, people interviewing, you know, there's none of that. There has been none of that. So the ambiguousness, the inconspicuousy of this investigation leads me to believe that there is foul play and a cover-up. We all know those small towns. Probably everybody knows old Scott Curlin. Scott Curlin might have got up there and got drunk and, you know, started taking pictures. And just once again, as I mentioned, the taking pictures of their bodies is a mockery. You know, is a sort of a trophy case. You know, like people go hunting and they put their bull heads on, you know, a plaque and hang them on their living room wall. And we all know about the postcards from the lynchings of times past, where they would send them out to their families, and every, after, the lynching would take place, they would cut a piece off of the skin. I want the ears. I want the genitalia. You know what I'm saying? I want the tongue. I want, so this reminds me of that. Why would somebody callously share those photos if they didn't have any malice in their heart? And so, in my opinion, Scott Curlin remains the prime suspect because, many people feel that, this does not happen. Twins do not do this to themselves. I saw another story in Georgia where they're saying one twin unalived another. And then I'm thinking, okay, well, they're just kind of doing this just to let people know. Okay, well, yeah, they do that. So I don't know. I haven't looked into that story, but it is evidence to me that something is fishy going on with this story with two young boys who don't hike, never been hikers, don't like to drive, don't like to pay for gas, end up 90 miles away with their car at the foot of the mountain and then walking up to the mountain with all of their plane tickets one day after they're supposed to leave to go on the flight. So there's a lot of questions that have yet to be answered. And, the investigation, the police are very tight-lipped with any information. The fact that, once again, the place doesn't have any cameras, there's no cameras along the road or anywhere, Saturday leading up to the gate, a gas station nearby, none of that, right? That definitely remains suspicious to me. So y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. I still think, we got to keep a tight eye on, the Scott Curlin guy, and also the entire involvement of these people. That's all we know is one guy, Scott Curlin. He was the only one at the scene. There's no other EMT call. There's nobody else that has anything to do with this case or was in the vicinity than Scott Curlin. I think, once again, that is a decoy, to keep people from asking questions. He may be the prime, in my opinion, he's the prime suspect because he's the only person that we've seen. But y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. 919-587-7782. Peace and blessings.